Do your pictures look boring, two-dimensional, something like that? Well, today I'll be helping you fix that with a simple three-step process to make 2D shapes look three-dimensional, bringing the illusion of depth to your photos based on just 3 steps. And those 3 steps are: first, we're going to be learning how you can change 2D shapes into 3D shapes, which is contouring. And secondarily, we are going to be learning something that's called rendering. And tertiarily, or thirdly, we're going to be learning rendering. No, not rendering, I already said that. We're going to be learning something different. It's called perspective, or it's just the idea that parallel lines in our reality actually converge at a point. Wait, that's not what you learned at math, right? It's a bit counterintuitive, but I'm sure you'll get it after the end of this video. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. So contouring is the process of drawing contours around a three-dimensional object. Contours are nothing but lines drawn around a three-dimensional object. Instead of boring you to death with technical words, I'm going to give you a real-life three-dimensional example so that you can draw on your two-dimensional paper and comprehend it with your one-dimensional brain. So take a Rubik's Cube. So look at it straight up 90 degrees to its perimeter. You'll see that the vertical lines and horizontal lines are parallel. But once you start turning that Rubik's Cube sideways and into different angles, you'll start to see a change. And that change is caused due to the phenomenon perspective. The world we observe is in 3-point perspective, or I'd say that 3-point perspective is the real perspective. But just because we need to learn contouring first, I'll teach you a method called isometric perspective that can get you going for a while. This is a very wrong idea of perspective, that all parallel lines are parallel, but you can learn how you can draw different angled objects, and then you can step your game up one level by learning perspective. So, well, isometric is basically this: all parallel lines are parallel. I'm drawing a box on screen so that you can see it more clearly. And now I want you to try an exercise with contouring actually. So now take a two-dimensional shape and convert it into a three-dimensional shape using the process of contouring. No, you're not allowed to shade. Now, first, think about it. What shape are you going to pick? In my case, it's a sphere and a hexagon and an upside down looking kite and some other random shape that looks like a cloud. So I'll be converting them. No, not a cloud shape. I don't know what to call it, but for now, I guess that does it. So I'll be converting the circle into a sphere, not basically a sphere, a disco ball, and then I'll be converting the hexagon into a Rubik's Cube, and then I'll be converting the kite into a prism. So, well, I want you to try along with me. Try it along. Take some 3D object, observe it, and find the similarity. Why am I not directly telling you the technical specifications of how you need to do it? Well, that's because you won't develop an intuition, and intuition is really important when it comes to this topic. So now just take a pencil or paper and do it with me so that you'll get some practice along the way as well. I'm gonna be speeding up the clips just a little bit so that the video doesn't seem very boring. And after that, after this step, we're gonna be learning rendering, and then I'm gonna teach you the other 3 types of perspective that are not isometric. That can level up your game like 1,000, quadrillion, jillion, gogglillion times. Goggle is the biggest number if you didn't know. So, well, rendering. What the hell is rendering? Rendering is just a fancy name given to lighting and applying of shadows. So here's how you do it. So when we did some contouring on the sphere earlier, you saw that the contours that were facing rightward were opposite to the parts of the sphere that were facing leftward. So now, imagine you're holding a light that's exactly hitting half of the contours and not the other half. But imagine it in a three-dimensional sense, actually. So first, shade in half of the contoured area from the middle to the edge, and then add some shadows to the object. Great. Now that you've done it, assuming now that you've done it, you can see that you successfully rendered a ball with light facing towards it in a 90-degree manner from a side angle view. Now, think about the light source rotating in three-dimensional space, and you'll find yourself developing an intuition for this thing. So that's basically how you start shading and stuff. Think about the contours that are away from the light source and shade them in. And well, what if you want to make shadows? Well, here's how you do it. Draw a line from the center of your light source to the object itself, tangentially, and then, well, where that object hits the wall are basically the two edges of the light source you need to be shading in. So that's the basics of rendering. Now let's go into a more advanced looking topic. Perspective. It's the easiest to learn but the hardest to master. As I said earlier, the world we view and live in and experience is a three-pointed perspective world with the different vanishing points. Vanishing points is just a fancy term for the place where the lines converge along the three different axes. If you really think about it, the x-axis, y-axis and the z-axis is the one that's on the top. Its influence is very little on our surroundings. So sometimes in 2-point perspective and most of the times in 1-point perspective, we show it by drawing parallel lines. That's obviously wrong, but if we don't ignore some of the vanishing points, we won't be getting time to draw all the things in. Like, some people may say you're lazy. Well, it's not actually the case. It's very hard to do that. So we neglect 2 points of perspective and get 1-point perspective and draw in that, or we neglect 1 point of perspective and get 2-point perspective. It's either along the x-axis, y-axis or the z-axis. I mean the vanishing point that is shown or removed. So this was the basics of perspective. Now I think you can pause the video and try to draw boxes in different perspectives like I am doing right now. Don't worry about the proportion of the boxes. I'll teach that to you in a different video. Now we're just gonna focus on constructing small boxes. Assuming you've had a try at it, this is the end of the video. Thank you for sticking till the end. I hope that you learned something new. If you want somebody else to learn from this, you can also share this video to that person. And thank you for watching, basically, again. And also hit the subscribe button and bell icon if you want to stay tuned for more videos of this same type. Like more how to draw videos on this tutorial series. You can put in comments about how you feel about this tutorial, what type of content you want in this channel, because I'm still a relatively new YouTuber and I do have time to look at my comments. If you want to show your love and support for the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Sorry, no, I already said that. Hit the like button.